Good morning. Welcome to Godly Play. We're going to do a story called Exodus today. I think it's really important to understand the story of Exodus so we can understand during Lent, which we're in that purple time, why Jesus was going to Jerusalem. Now, I bet you know what the word exit means. You see it a lot, a place to go out. Exodus just means a lot of people are going out at the same time. And that's the story we're going to tell today. This is the desert box. A lot of the stories in the Old Testament happen in the desert. And so we just have to have a piece of the desert here in our Godly Play Worship Center. The desert is a wild and a strange place. At night, it's freezing cold. And during the day, it's very, very hot. There's no water at all. And the wind comes, and it blows the sand, and it changes the desert so that the desert is never the same one day to the next. The children were very hungry. They were so hungry that they cried even in their sleep. Their parents knew that they were hungry, but there was no food. They knew they needed to go somewhere to find food. So the people of God took their children and they went across the desert to Egypt. They stayed there. But one day, a new king called a Pharaoh came to the throne. He wanted the people of God for his slaves. So he caught them in a trap. They couldn't get away. They had to do what Pharaoh told them to do. They had to work when Pharaoh told them to work. They had to eat when Pharaoh told them to eat. They had to go to bed when Pharaoh told them to go to bed. They couldn't do anything on their own. And the people of God called to God. And God said to Moses, "Go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go." So Moses went to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, "No." Some very bad things happened in the land of Egypt. And so Moses went back to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said, "No." firstborn of all the Egyptian families and all of their animals died. But not the people of God. Death passed over the people of God. Moses went back to Pharaoh. And this time Pharaoh said yes. Moses hurried back. The people were ready. They packed up their things. They were ready to flee. They knew how to get ready. They knew that they didn't have time to rise bread, so they just baked it without any rising in it, no leavening at all. They raced. They knew that Pharaoh would change his mind and the chariots would be coming to get them. And they ran and they ran. They ran until they got to the Great Sea. And they ran right up against the sea because they did hear Pharaoh's chariots coming. And here they were, ready to get out, and they were trapped again. And so Moses turned to God and said, "Help us, please." And God did. He showed them the way through the waters. Moses led his people through the waters to the other side as the chariots were getting closer. But they all got through. And look at this little boy wanted to turn cartwheels. He was so happy. And this person just hopped all the way over. They were so excited to get out of Egypt and be free again. And as soon as they had passed through, the waters closed again, and Pharaoh's army was trapped on the other side. Oh, the people of God were so happy to be free. They knew they needed to thank the one and only God, and so they sang a song of praise to God. And Miriam, the prophet, she led the dancing, and they all danced and praised God. I wonder sometimes when I'm telling this story what it would be like to be hungry and not have any food. And I wonder how the parents must have felt when their children were crying because they were so hungry and there wasn't any food. I wonder how it feels to know that the only way you can get food is to be a slave. I wonder how it felt when the Egyptian families had their children die and the death passed over God's children. I wonder how it felt to be trapped again up against that water with the chariots coming. I wonder what it's like to be able to thank God for something so important in your life. You know, you might be able to just cut some figures out of paper, or maybe even make them out of sticks. And you could go and tell this story. It'd be nice if you had a sandbox, but you could tell it in your driveway. I hope you will, and I hope you will enjoy it, because this is the important story of Exodus. And we'll be continuing stories about Lent and Jesus getting ready for Passover also. See you next week. Bye.